Right, and for those of you that have attempted the exercises, welcome back. And this would be just a walkthrough to the solutions for those exercises that I have just given to you on complex numbers. So I gave you the first one, so I want you guys really to attempt them as much as you possibly can. It does just borderline also just exercises your mathematical muscles a little bit. So let's start with the first one. Okay, so we've got 2i minus 3. This is all cubed. So that's 2i minus 3 cubed. Right, how would we go about this one? So firstly, you're going to have 2i minus 3 into 2i minus 3 squared, right? Now it's easier to deal with this because we've already learned how to do so. So I'm going to have 2i minus 3 into, now remember what I said to you. Whenever you are multiplying brackets, so you start with the first term, that's going to be 4i squared, right? For the middle term, you take the first multiplied by the second multiplied by 2. So 2i times negative 3, that's negative 6i, times 2, that will be negative 12i. Right, so that's minus 12i, and this is plus 9. So let's try to actually solve what is inside the bracket over there. Okay, let's simplify this. So this is 4i squared. So remember, I squared is negative 1 minus 12i plus 9. Now to keep this in mind, so 4 times negative 1, that would be negative 4 plus 9, that would give us 5. Okay, so you've got 2i minus 3 into 5 minus 12i. All right, so that's negative 4 plus 9, that will give us positive 5. Okay, so nothing left to it. So what we are meant to do is represent this as a complex number. So let's start. So this is going to be 2i times 5. That's 10i. 2i times negative 12i. That's going to be negative 24i. We've got negative 3 times 5. That's negative 15. And finally, we've got negative 3 times negative 12i. That's going to be positive 36i. All right. Now let's go for it, ladies and gents. Like terms, the 10i, the 36i, that should give us 46i. And no, actually, I think I made a mistake somewhere. Yeah, I think when I was multiplying. Okay, apologies there. Let's go back to this. Okay, so we said 2i multiplied by 5. We said that's 10i. We said 2i times negative 12i, and that gave us negative, that gave us negative 24i squared, right? Remember, there's that I multiplied by I there. And we said 5 times I, negative 3 times 5 rather, that's going to be negative 15. Okay, and finally, we've got plus 36i. All right, so let's add those two. That gives us 46i. Okay, minus, so that's 10i plus 36i gives us 46i. And that's minus 24 times I squared. I squared is negative 1. Okay, and this is minus 15. And so we've got positive 24, right, minus 15, that should give us 9. So the final answer is 9 plus 46i. So that is how the cookie crumbles for that guy. All right, please verify if you were able to get to the same answer, right? So let's go to number 2. Okay. So we said that's I into 2 minus 3i. All right. So that's I into 2 minus 3i minus 5, or rather minus bracket, open bracket, 5 minus I, all squared. Now, ladies and gents, we are simply going to be following the BODMAS rule there. Okay. Actually, I repeated the same exercise twice. Not sure why I did that, but anyway, right, that's going to be 2i. So we start with brackets. So that's I times negative 3i. That's negative 3i squared. Right? Minus. Now, please remember, ladies and gents, you do not multiply into the bracket first without firstly solving for that square. Okay. Right. So what do we get? We've got minus. Okay. Right. That's 25. 5 times 5. That's 25. That's 5 times negative I. Negative 5 times 2, remember for the middle term, that's negative 10i, and this is plus I squared. All right, so we've got 2i. Okay, I've got 2i minus 3 times negative 1, right? Minus 25. In fact, let's say minus, let's try and simplify this. Inside the bracket, that's going to be 25 minus 10i, and I squared is negative 1, so that's minus 1. So that's going to be 2i plus 3 minus 25. In fact, let's say 25 minus 1, that should give us 24, right? So that would be minus 24. Right, so if I multiply inside the bracket, 25 minus 1 would give us 24, minus 10i, okay, that should give us positive 10i. Remember, negative times a negative gives me a positive there. Right, and then we look at our like terms. So we've got 10i plus 2i, that will give us 12i, and we've got 3 minus 24, that would give us minus 21. All right, ladies and gents, that is really how the cookie crumbles. The signs are different, so we subtract and keep the sign of the bigger term. Right, so that's how we get to that. Okay, quickly as we go to the third one. Okay, we've got 5 plus 2i. All right. Okay. Sure. Into, we've got 2 minus 5i minus 2i cubed into right. So we'll have to remember what we did in our very first video. Okay. Yeah, minus 3i. Yes, okay. Right, now let's go for it, ladies and gents. So again, solving for that bracket, that will give us 10. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times negative 5i is negative 25i. 2 times 2, that will give us 4i. 2 times negative 2i times negative 5i, that's negative 10i squared. All right, and I've got negative 2. In this case, I've got I cubed, right? Now I'm going to keep that, right? So that's negative 2i cubed times I to the exponent of 5, right? Bases are the same. I add the exponents, so that will be negative 2i to the power of 8, or to the raised to the exponent of 8. And the negative times a negative gives me a positive. So that will be 2i, again, 3 plus 1, that should give me 4. Right, ladies and gents, let's look out for how we can try to simplify this. Right, I've got negative 25i plus 4i. That will be negative 21i. Okay, that's minus 10. I squared is negative 1 minus 2 times. Remember, I to the exponent of 8. 8 is a factor of 4, right? Or rather, 4 is a factor of 8. And so in this case, that means that this will just be 1. Right, plus 2. Again, I to the raised to the exponent of 4. So that would also be just 1. Okay, so ladies and gents, let's try and... So I've got 10 minus 21i plus 10, okay, minus 2 plus 2. Those 2 cancel each other out. So I am left with 10 plus 10, which is 20, minus 21i. Please just verify and see if you get to the same solution, right? But that is what I was able to obtain. All right, and finally, since I repeated the one exercise twice, which one did I skip? All right, the one with the 4s, right? Did we not do that one? Yeah, we didn't. Sorry, guys, I skipped this guy over here. Right, let's go for it. So that was 4 plus 3i into 4 minus 3i. And please, guys, use your mathematical hacks whenever possible. Okay. Right, so if I look at this again, can you see that I've got the difference of squares? Right? Same brackets, different signs. Okay, so that simply means that's going to be 16 minus 9i squared. And negative I squared multiplied by I to the power 6. That's minus I raised to the exponent of 8. And this is plus. Negative times a negative will be positive 2i squared. And so that becomes 16 minus 9 times negative 1 minus, that's positive 1, right, plus 2 times, again, I squared is negative 1. Right, guys, I please beg you to remember, you know, anything in this case that is a multiple of 4, we know that we will always get a positive 1, right, and I squared will always be negative 1. Okay, so that's 16 plus 9, negative times a negative is a positive, that's minus 1. 2 times negative 1 will be negative 2. And so what do we get? Let's see. All right, I've got 16 plus 9, which is 25. Okay, minus 3. That will give us 23. And so, ladies and gents, that is where I will keep it. I hope that you are able to walk with me through this exercise. And we will be looking next at the division of complex numbers. Very interesting topic, right? That's what we're going to be doing next. Otherwise, from me for now, I'll see you guys next time. Sharp, sharp.